Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. First of all, a huge welcome to all of you who have subscribed recently and kind of joined the family. Your support means so much to me. And if you're new to this channel, I'm Vidya and I'm a mom of an almost 2-year-old little boy, Vikrant, who sometimes makes an appearance in my videos. And I basically talk about all things related to pregnancy and childbirth and the postpartum period to motherhood and playing with a toddler, raising a toddler, whatever I know about this subject in the limited experience that I have. So I'm so excited to have you along on this journey. In this video, I'm going to talk about some very simple activities that I do for my toddler when I'm in a pinch for time. I'm always on the lookout for new activities, like new things to do with him. But whenever I go to those Pinterest and YouTube activities that have a lot of steps to do or things to buy, it automatically gets pushed off on my things to do list and it never gets done. So these are some things that I do with just everyday household things, very simple. But you cannot underestimate the power of everyday objects in a child's development. You might already be doing some of these things, and some you might get new ideas, but the point is not to design some complicated games for children, but just to have a new look at our everyday things. These are so good for their sensory development, their spatial development, and just fine motor skills and all those fancy terms that get thrown around in child education. So getting started with the first one, you might have heard of sensory bins or sensory play, which is considered to be very important. And it does not have to be complex. You can just get a bin or a big bowl and fill it up with objects of different textures, shapes, colors and sizes. I've used just some kidney beans, some dal and pasta. You can just have oats or rice or anything that you have laying around in the kitchen. Be mindful that these are very small and sometimes can be a choking hazard if your child is putting everything in their mouth. So these are not for babies, say less than 1 year, but your child will reach a point at which they will know the difference between food and play. So at that age, this is excellent for their sensory development. So all you do is put these different things and let them play with their fingers, let them do whatever they want. You can give them spoons of different shapes to kind of scoop and pour into another bowl. That is another skill that is good for them to develop. And once he's kind of bored of this, I just put in some water to make it a wet sensory bin. That is a whole new experience. And just looking at objects, how they float or sink in water is another huge developmental thing. It might sound very simple, but it's amazing how much children learn out of these activities. This next thing you can do when they're doing snack time. So when you're giving them bananas, you can cut them in little discs with the peel on and just let them peel the banana themselves and then eat it. So this is really good for fine motor skill development and improving their pincer grasp. You might need to show them how to do this in the beginning, but once they get the hang of it, they'll just love doing it. They'll feel like they've achieved something, and of course they get to eat it at the end. Sticking with the kitchen theme, I give him some bottles to play with that have screw-on lids. This is again a huge developmental game. This wrist movement is really good for them to practice. So I just give him a couple of different bottles to play with. So he unscrews the lids, he tries to put them in the wrong one and he realizes that this does not fit and he puts it back. So this is all an exercise for his mind. So I give him 3 or 4 bottles, actually just 3 is enough, and just he tries to play with it at least for 15 to 20 minutes, which is a lot for a toddler. Along those same lines, containers that are of different sizes. So this lid is a snap-on, which is different from a screw-on lid. So I'll give him all of these things. I'll just put them on the floor when I'm cooking or something and he plays with them. So he might try to nest them, put them one inside the other or one on top of the other. So all of these activities are good for spatial recognition, like he will understand the relationship between big objects and small objects and learning to nest them together. You can put measuring cups or measuring spoons. Those are excellent learning toys for children. The point is, you don't have to buy new toys every time. You don't have to spend a lot of money for developing these activities. They are going to learn just from everyday things, right? So next I want to talk about homemade Play-Doh. My son is obsessed with Play-Doh these days, but when I first introduced it to him, he just promptly put it in his mouth. So I wanted to give him something natural that is non-toxic and, you know, safe if, you know, eaten in small quantities. So I found this recipe of a homemade Play-Doh that is just so simple. It's got 3 ingredients, just flour, salt and some oil. I'll put the recipe, just the measurements, in the description box, but all you do is knead it together. You can make it more fun by adding some food colors or making it into different shapes or poking it with little sticks or spoons, just manipulating the dough. And you can of course give it to them just like that, like your chapati dough to play with. I've noticed that the more open-ended the toy or activity is, the better it is for them, and the more you know, they get more creative about playing with it. Like my son can pretend that it's a car or a bird or something. This next one might not be readily available to you, but if you can get your hands on sand from the beach or from clean sand from a river, it'll be amazing. I've got Kinetic sand, which is kind of sticky sand. It's easier to clean up if there's a spill, but he loves playing with it. He loves running his fingers through it. I think it's amazing sensory development for them, and even creativity, like he runs his trucks through it and pretends that it's a construction site, or, you know, I can hide some small things and he can dig through them. So sand is another thing that is really good for sensory development, and it'll be amazing if you can incorporate it into your daily activities. This next one is a lot of fun for my son. I've noticed that he loves opening flaps in his books. So whenever I get a package, I save the cardboard box and I cut open little windows and doors in it. It's super simple. It takes 5 minutes of my time and it gives him at least half an hour of play. So it's a win-win for both of us. So we pretend that it's a little house. We put some of his stuffed animals or any other toys, and whenever he opens the window, it's a bit of a surprise for him to see his buddy inside. So he tries to go into the box sometimes. So it's a lot of fun for him while being developmentally excellent. Another thing we love doing around our home is play with scarves. You might have heard of play silks, which is kind of a Montessori term, and basically you give the child different silk pieces of cloth in different colors, and you can do endless play with them. All we do in our house is get scarves of different textures, different fabrics. So this is a plain silk scarf which he loves because it's very light, and, you know, he can just play with it as he wants to. And then we have a muslin piece of cloth, and then we have this fuzzy square which came with one of his toys. So he kind of, you know, makes up his own games as he gets older. But you can start playing with scarves for children that are less than a year old. It's amazing for their development. As he's getting older, he's getting into more pretend play with the scarves, like he's dressing himself up and things like that. But Google play silks if you want to get more ideas, or you can just simply give them scarves, tie them together, play peekaboo, make tunnels with them, you know, do so many things. This last one is again very simple. I saw it on another mom's YouTube channel, but I thought it was so clever. All you do is take a toy, maybe something that your child hasn't seen in a while, and just wrap it in aluminum foil, and it instantly becomes a present. Just the simple unwrapping of it requires some coordination, so it's good for their fine motor skill development, and it keeps them engaged for a while. So it's really good. So those were the super easy activities I wanted to talk about today. I will make another video with activities that require a little bit more DIY, but make sure that you're supervising your child with any kind of play, at least until they're 3 years old, because they might put things in their mouths that are choking hazards, especially with these kind of activities where you have rice and beans. Keep an eye on them. And don't put things like marbles, which are smooth and round, that are slippery, in their toys. So if you want to know more about toy safety, I have touched upon that in a video of mine. I'll link that for you. And please like this video if you found this useful, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye.